Hello, New Mexico, and welcome to another episode of Around the Roundhouse, the New Mexicans podcast featuring the policies, politics, and personalities of the state capitol during the 60-day session. My name is Daniel Chacón, and I'm the state government reporter for the New Mexican. Every week, my colleagues and I will be bringing you the latest news and information from the Roundhouse, as well as recapping the highlights and sharing interviews with key political figures. We're going to shake things up this week with not just one, but two guests who have definitely made a name for themselves in the state capitol. In the world of comedy, we have Mork and Mindy and Laverne and Shirley. In music, we have Sonny and Cher. In cinema, we have Thelma and Louise. Here in the Roundhouse, we have state representatives Stefani Lord and John Block. Lord, who represents House District 22, is a staunch gun rights advocate, and Block, who represents House District 51, is the editor and founder of the conservative Piñon Post news site. Lord has served in the legislature since 2021, while Block has served since 2023. Thank you both for joining us.
No, thank you.
Thank
you
you.
are amazing, and thank you for having us on your show.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
So let me ask you, representatives, are you more Donnie and Marie or Bonnie and Clyde?
Bonnie and Clyde.
Tell me why.
The Blords have
The
spoken.
Blord. We go by Blord colloquially.
Yeah, I would say because we are very opinionated, we're very strong, we don't back down, we like to challenge other people and their thoughts and beliefs, and I'd say, yeah, definitely we're a little more rogue than
When
other
it comes
people.
to many things.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, when you all first met each other, was it instant that you all liked each other?
Yes.
Yes. I don't even know when that was. What, 20?
I can't even.
It was 20-something.
Because we started in the Patriot world
Yeah,
first.
'cause we were in
That's
the
where
Patriot
I started as
movement.
Patriot and gun rights. And it was just one of those things where we just met each other. You know how when you like somebody, you like them. It's kind of like when you don't like people. You know, you go, ugh.
I know. You just have a vibe, and I guess
Right.
you have a pretty good vibe.
Yeah,
You're
you did too.
Pretty
We
good.
have matching vibes.
Right on. Well, representatives, I'm probably not going to tell you something you don't already know, but some of your colleagues consider you, brace yourselves, rabble-rousers. The chair of the House Consumer and Public Affairs Committee, where you both serve, told me you're out of order a lot of times and don't follow what should be proper decorum.
She's out of order.
She's out of order.
She is out of order.
She
does
does not
use
follow
the
the
rules.
rules.
She's a sweet lady, maybe sometimes. I don't know. I've never seen it, but she does not know the rules. We do. We
She
read them.
doesn't,
We know
and she
them.
really does not use the rules. And they since I have been here the 5 years, the Democrats, not all of them. So I love some of the Democrats we have. I really do, honest with all my heart. But there are some people that are just mean to be mean. And there's a few of them here that they love to bully us, beat us down, berate us, and try to shut us up. And you will not silence us.
No.
So does that just kind of maybe more embolden you?
Yes, because
Yeah.
I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it from Republican or Democrat. I don't take it from anybody. So why would
we
I
don't
take
take
it
it from
here?
anybody. Yeah, we go to the floor, we debate when we have to. We go to committee, we debate a lot because someone they actually have to read the bills, right?
Yeah,
Someone's got to read the
somebody's
bills
gotta read the
so that they
bills.
know what's inside of them. And I think that's what we do best. I think
And
we vet legislation, we make sure we pass good policy, and a lot of the time they don't pass good policy, but they're going to know about it at least while they're passing it.
And
So-
let me be really frank about this. From the day one that I got on CPAC, they have just been meaner than hell. And there's no reason to be that mean to me. So if you're going to be that mean, I'm going to challenge you every step of the way. If you're going to be nice to me, I might back off a little bit. I'm going to challenge you. And especially if you don't follow the rules, I'm all over it. John and I are all over. We got our books, our Masons, and no, we're not going to take it.
Okay. Well, representatives, obviously you all get along very well, but I wanted to ask about your relationship with other Republicans in the House. Are you all get along with everybody in the House?
You know how when you meet people and you like some people and others you don't? It's that way in your same party.
Okay.
There's some people you like, there's some people you don't, there's some people that are just there. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say I love everybody. I don't. There's some people I really like.
Yeah, no one loves everybody, but we try to get along. We do.
And there's some people like on the Dem side. There's some Dems I really like. Like Leo Jaramillo. I just saw him a minute ago. I was talking to him, hassling him outside. I love him. He's great. So
it just kind of depends on each person.
it depends on the person, and it depends on how hard you work.
Gotcha. Representatives, I wanted to turn to President Donald Trump, who is in the news, seems like not just every day, but every hour since he took office. As Republicans, what do you make of the president's first weeks in office, as well as the federal funding cuts and freezes that are affecting New Mexicans' lives?
We love the president. I love the president, and I think he's doing a great job. Number one, he actually takes questions from the media. I think there was a report that just came out. He took 1,000 questions since he's been in office just this time, whereas Obama only took like 200 questions. So that shows the transparency of it. When it comes to his executive orders, they are all ready to go. When he got sworn into office, he knew what he was going to do, and he did it. And when it comes to the border, he's clamping down on illegal criminal aliens coming into the country. And so our state could potentially not benefit from some of us, not us, because we're actually pretty good representatives, but Democrats, a lot of them, are bucking that. So we will see what they do. And if they do end up bankrupting the state because we're pretty much the most dependent state in the nation when it comes to the federal government, that's on them, not us.
But how will, what are your ideas for New Mexico dealing with some of those federal funding cuts that might be coming our way?
Be compliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be compliant.
Work with the president.
Trump.
Yeah.
I went on Newsmax 2 weeks before the election happened, and I said Trump actually had a chance in New Mexico, and he did. He came closer than ever before. And all the polls I was reading is that he was more relatable to Hispanics than the Democrat candidate, and that has been an issue here in New Mexico. And I think Democrats sometimes need to understand that Trump came across better with the Hispanic males in New Mexico, and he is doing everything that he said he was going to do. And so far, I don't think he's crossed a line to where everyone's gotten upset with him. But at the same time, I know that everyone's concerned about the feds being cut off. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of departments that have a lot of bloat. Like today, I was reading about, they had on the news, there was, I forget what department it was, people were sexting each other all day. Like, why, from home? Like, why aren't you doing your job? Yeah. I mean, there's things that are so egregious that you should not maybe be having your job, but they're also getting a parachute when they leave. They're not being cut off, so they do have that severance pay when they leave. So I guess New Mexico will have to comply, or they'll get cut off.
But what about those folks that are, we've heard stories about people losing their jobs. I mean, you got to be sympathetic to those people.
Of course, but the thing is, the media likes to focus on the few people who lost their jobs, not the people who are still employed, who are continuing to work. And when it comes to DOJ and when it comes to actually making the government efficient, if that job is not needed, unfortunately, they will have to go work in the private sector with all of us who do that every day, and we try to make a living. So I think that's probably, it's sad that it's happening, but at the end of the day, it's life.
And it's like anything else with the business. It's sadly, right, when people get laid off, but if we're spending too much and not enough to pay our employees and not living up to what they need, or there's a department that isn't needed, then that's just the way life goes too. On the flip side of that, yes, sympathetic, but they could always run for office and get not paid, like we do, or there's other opportunities that they could have.
Yeah, exactly.
I also wanted to ask you all about LGBTQ rights, which I have seen you all talk about in the past. What do you say to people who are scared their rights already have or will be negatively impacted by the Trump administration?
I would hope that those rights would not be harmed, because I've never heard anything from Trump saying that he dislikes the LGBTQ community, and I will always stand for their rights, because my parents were gay. I have friends that are gay. I have a friend that's trans, and she's a shooter. She's an amazing shooter. So I don't think they have anything to worry about. And I think if it gets too far, even Republicans would stand up for them.
But I think I'm mostly referring to the executive order dealing with transgender rights, and I don't know if you have thoughts one way or another.
I don't know if I have any thoughts on the transgender issue.
No, and I haven't read the executive order, but I trust the president, his discernment, and for me, I'm one of the biggest Trump supporters around here. I'm the first openly gay Republican ever elected to the legislature. So if that shows you the state of our party, we're welcoming to people. We want people to come in here as long as you're willing to work and be conservative and follow our values. Come on in. We love you.
And I think some of the issue, too, is that, honestly, on our side of the aisle, I don't think anybody cares about anybody's lifestyle. The main thing was that, I don't know if you saw the books that they were handing out. They had some very, very... I'm not going to say it, but there were very descriptive things in there that I don't think kids should be seen. So there's always a line with everything, right?
Sure.
If anybody goes too far in anything, we got to stop and say, wait, this is way too far.
Okay.
We can't be having these things being taught to very young kids or exposing them. And that it was straight and gay in there, both in these books. So I think that had a lot of the issue of why there was so much contention. I think that's what started a lot of that, because I don't think there's a lot of LGBTQ hating. I think it's a fact that sometimes when things go too far, people are like, okay, that's enough. We don't want that issue. But as far as the executive order, I haven't read it either.
Well, that'll be next week's episode. I wanted to turn our attention back to the 60-day session. We've seen a dizzying number of bills introduced this year, and I wanted to ask about your legislative priorities. But first, I want to ask which Democrat-sponsored bills give you the most heartburn. We'll start with Representative Lord.
Paid family leave would be one of them. I hated the budget. I didn't like the budget. There was a bunch of things in there that I thought were completely unnecessary. And I will stick by my comment. They should have given us 2 chickens instead of supporting the beaver. I'm going to go back to that again. I don't like SB 1, 2, and 3. I did not like those because I don't know where the money's going to. It's so vague. It could go to something that we absolutely don't need. It could be more bloated government. It could be programs we don't need, programs that don't work. But there's $1 billion that's going to go off into space, and then they're going to use that to start all kinds of programs that I don't know. What else do we have out there? Paid family
I hate House Bill 9, which would kill my detention center in Otero County, which they're using it as, let's save the migrants from being detained in the state, but we're just going to send those same migrants down to Texas, where they have 21 facilities.
Or in Guantanamo Bay. 3. They're going somewhere.
Guantanamo Bay. And so that would kill our economy in Otero County, and it would be horrible for my district. So I hate that bill with a passion, and it must die. It must die.
There's a couple other ones that they're trying to make sure that we're not compliant with things that Trump wants, and that's just going to cut funding to our state, and that makes no sense. And of course, I don't like red flag bill at all.
Red flag. Anything anti-gun. There's a huge, terrible anti-gun bill in the Senate side that's banning high-capacity magazines.
And then there's another
again.
one where they're coming and they want to change the requirements, which part of it isn't bad. Cervantes brought that forward. Part of it's not bad for the CCW, but then no reciprocity. Why would you do that? Every state has reciprocity. If you're equal, you're equal. I mean, so
So it sounds like there's lots of bills to pick from that you think.
Lots.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Hopefully they all die. Maybe not HB2, unfortunately, but I mean, we're spending $3.5 million to save the American beaver.
And
that's $300 a beaver.
And $3.1 million on climate change.
Yeah.
And you don't think we need to do that?
No,
$31 million to say, it's hot. Let's spend money on how we can make it less hot. How can 70 people in the House and 42 people in the Senate save the state from being hot? We're New Mexico. That's just how it is.
We're a grain of sand in the whole world. So,
how many people do you think in New Mexico support? Think like you think.
A majority, at least.
Okay.
But there's a lot of voter disenchantment, unfortunately, and disenfranchisement when it comes to the voting. A lot of people think it doesn't matter. Some people think, I voted and my vote didn't count. And then there's a lot of election integrity issues, which we've actually been working to fix this session.
And we also have a lot of moderate Hispanic Democrats who don't align with either party, but they have some common ground with the Republicans because the more conservative issues. I mean, I got people in rural New Mexico who are Democrat that vote for me because they're really upset about their gun rights, especially when you start saying we're going to take away your AR and they're way out in the rural country. They do not like that one bit.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate a huge turnout when some of these bigger gun bills come? I mean, obviously, red flag already came up, but there are other gun bills that are on tap.
People are being quieter because they're tired of coming up here and the voice is not being heard and them being chastised and them being, 100 people show up and they go, okay, 5 of you can talk for 1 minute. They're sick of it. Okay. They figure it doesn't do it again. And see, that's the problem is even if I have moderate Democrats who want their voice heard, they're also being disenfranchised because they don't have a voice either. They can't go to the Democrats and they can't really come to us, but they come to me more when it comes, more Democrats reach out to me about the gun issues than you'd think.
Yeah.
I want to go back and talk about some of the bills that Democrats are sponsoring, and then we'll switch to what your priorities are. But it's been described that some of these bills are poking the bear, and the idea is that we're kind of picking a fight with President Trump. Do you think that that's the case with some of these bills?
Yeah, they're trying to pick a fight with President Trump and trying to bankrupt our state by taking away our oil and gas industry. Number one, they're trying to take away our federal funding, and then on the other side, they're taking away the state funding that we actually have when it comes to oil and gas. So at the end of the day, what's going to fund schools and hospitals and all the capital outlay projects? I'm guessing it'll probably be pot and gambling, maybe. But that's not legalized on the state level. So yeah, I don't know. We're going to be another Nevada, maybe, if we're lucky.
I wanted to ask also, what is it like to be in the minority? Because a lot of these bills, even though you can, raise objections, might pass because the numbers are there.
The unfortunate part is that we lost a lot of our moderate Democrats, and that changes everything. Because now we have nobody to work with. There's nobody over there who's going to say, well, I'll stand with you on this issue or that, because they all got primaried. They all got taken out by people in Emerge. So now it's completely swung that side all the way over to the left. So I think we're going to have issues trying to find some common ground with some of these harder bills that are going to come through. We'll see when we start staying up all night, 3-4 days in a row.
And for folks who don't know, Emerge is a statewide organization that works to elect mostly Democratic women at all levels of
who toe the
government.
line.
I'm sorry?
Democrat women who toe the line when it comes to abortion, up to birth,
Although,
when it comes to
what?
other things like that.
There's an Emerge candidate I met who's not towing the line, and I
Well,
kind of
that's
love
good.
that.
They'll probably kick her out of the club.
But the problem with New Mexico is it's not far right and it's not far left.
No.
It's in the middle, and we've lost all the middle. We've lost our ability to talk about things in the middle. It seems like that is gone. It's like destroy oil and gas, and at what cost? Make electric vehicles. How am I people from Torrance County supposed to get all the way across the state and back when there's no infrastructure? I mean, you have to have common sense, and that seems to have left the building.
Representatives, before we run out of time, I also wanted to ask about your priorities for this session. What are some of the big bills that you really are hoping will get across the finish line this year?
I have 30 bills, and all of them are important. And there's one I'm going to bring it up, and nobody ever wants to talk about it, and I'm tired of it. The fact that necrophilia is still legal in the state. We're one of 3 states. Is just absurd. Just pass it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Just pass it so we can put it on the books. Because where I learned about that was in a symposium for crimes against children. And a woman was killed. I'll just say woman. And he did that to her after she passed away, and they couldn't have charges, and the parents are heartbroken. So it doesn't matter if it happens to one person, it happens to 10 people, just to get that passed. And of course, there's other bills that I'd like to see go through. I brought so many on CYFD, and they died. CYFD is such a huge issue. We're giving drug-addicted babies or babies born to moms who are drug-addicted back to the mother. Why are we doing that? It's so absurd, that CAR Act. And then what I'm finding from sheriffs is that the babies are half dead. You don't hear about those ones. The babies are half dead. The mom's holding them and smoking fentanyl. And why can't, and of course, the bail. I want us to, we did a huge mistake, and we have a huge revolving door, so we need to do bail reform. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed. There's real crime issues I had that we could have dealt with, but no, we had to kind of water it down and do that crime package that was, had some good things and had some dumb things in it, and it wasn't far enough. So
Yeah.
What
I
about
I
you,
agree,
Representative?
especially on the crime. There are so many bills that we put forward that just don't get hearings
Right.
in CPAC or any other committees. And when it comes to that, we need to protect children. And it's especially child-on-child crime. That's a huge issue. And we've also got, of course, the election integrity issues that I care about. I have a bill that would actually help when it comes to not election integrity, but when it comes to protecting children, with Representative Serrato, a Democrat from Santa Fe, to protect children from being indecently exposed by adults to children.
Yeah,
And
you can
flash a kid on private property right
property.
now.
But are you
the
telling me
state.
you've got a bipartisan piece of
I've
legislation?
got so many pieces of bipartisan
do I.
legislation, and people think we're the most radical right-wing people. We are not. We work together with so many other people across the state and across
And
our
constitutional carry.
house.
Constitutional carry,
we
let
care
that
about
work.
that. And then also I have a bill about agritourism. I'm working with some
that's a
senators
great bill.
and a Democrat
That's a great
Democrat
bill.
senator, and then some folks in the House. So we work together. People don't think that. It doesn't make the news, but hey,
And
you're
also-
the news today, so we're
And also,
telling you.
also, John and I I have got probably 5 bills right now that are great bills. I knew I couldn't put my name on them. I gave them to Democrats.
Yeah,
and
I've
nobody
done the
even
same.
knows. And I won't say a word because I don't want the bill to get killed. So if I think it's a fantastic bill, you will not know the bills I've gotten passed by handing them to Democrats, because I think it's more important to pass the bill than to have your name on it. I don't need that ego stroke.
Amen.
And that's just the
Amen.
But that's the world of politics that you have to work with.
It is. Sometimes when you get a bill and you get some bipartisan people in there, and it's great. I got a couple that are bipartisan. Some are going to be too far extreme. I get that. But yeah, no, there's bills that I've surrendered to Dems. There's one that actually just got killed by Dems, which is a really good bill, who I had handed to a very good Dem, and he did a very good job presenting it, and they still moved to table.
Move to table. We
And I
literally
didn't
have
put my
buttons
name
that say
anywhere
move to
near
table.
it. wasn't my fault. I didn't even go to speak on it. I pretended like I don't know anything about
What
that
bill? I don't know about that bill.
Do you all have nightmares of, move to table,
Yes,
move to
we
table?
Oh my God. Last night I was dreaming about a bill that I had to debate for 3 hours, and it was a bill that I hated. And yeah, we have nightmares.
We do. I've heard in my sleep move to or vote. Vote.
Oh my gosh.
Vote. You're like, oh my gosh.
Wakes you up.
Well, representatives, it has been just so much fun to hang out with you and get an opportunity to speak with you, especially, as we get toward the end of the session and time is running out. So I appreciate your time because I know it's precious here in Santa Fe. Is there anything I'm missing to ask you or anything that you'd like to add about this 60-day session and what we can expect in the weeks ahead?
The last week I think is going to be brutal. There's been a couple times where we stayed up for 4 days in a row. None of us slept. And when you try to sleep, it's worse because you feel worse. So I would anticipate that, I hope that everybody gets up and fight because, look, when there's a bad bill on the floor, your job as a representative is to get up and ask questions, and you should not be passing a bill if you don't know that bill inside and out. So I hope you get up and ask a lot of questions.
I would say that's something that people should do. They should call their representative. Why didn't you talk on this bill that is going to hurt our district? Because it's important to see your district representative out there doing the work. Otherwise, what fruits of your labor do you have other than capital outlay, which we all get anyway? So it's like the bare minimum. If people go back to their district and say, oh, look at all the capital outlay I brought, that's literally the bare minimum of your job. You should be doing something to kill or pass bills.
Exactly.
Well, again, thank you so much to Representative Blord for Is it Blords?
The Blords.
The Blords.
Family.
Well, thank you to Representative Blords for joining us today. We'll take a quick break and discuss some of the highlights of the 6th week of the session and look ahead at what's to come in week 7.
This is Patrick Dorsey, publisher of the Santa Fe New Mexican. Looking to reach a wider audience and grow your business? For 175 years, the Santa Fe New Mexican has been the trusted voice of Santa Fe, with unmatched local reach in print and online. In addition to our long-standing, independent, family-owned newspaper, we have a full-fledged marketing team with the expertise to help you succeed in the 21st century. From traditional print to precision-targeted digital advertising, we have the tools to connect you with your ideal customers. Partner with us and see the results for yourself. Advertise with the Santa Fe New Mexican and unlock your business's full potential. Visit us at santafenewmexican.com/advertising or call us at 505-995-3852. Thank you.
We're back with Around the Roundhouse. I'm your host, Daniel Chacón. It was another busy week at the state capitol, starting with the House advancing the state's proposed $10.8 billion budget to the Senate, where members of the Senate Finance Committee are delving into the details. The chairman of Senate Finance, Democrat George Munoz of Gallup, told his colleagues Thursday much work remains to be done.
We know we still have big holes in the budget. We know we're about $60 million short in education. CYFD, we're about $40 million short. So we're starting to work through those kinks that came over from House Bill 2 and figure out how we fix those. So.
On Wednesday, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham traveled to Albuquerque, as did the New Mexican, for a luncheon hosted by the Greater Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce. The governor told members of Albuquerque's business community she was all but guaranteed to call a special session later this year to deal with federal funding cuts. When there are wild swings at the federal level, the governor said, states have to be in a position to respond to any number of things, a point she reiterated in an interview after her speech.
I call special sessions when I need them. I call them when I think there's no other option to have movement and that you need to address something right now. And the likelihood that I never call another one doesn't seem likely, just given what we're seeing at the national level. And if, in fact, the Senate passes this Medicaid cut, just that part of the cuts, if they don't restore the hiring of some of these positions, I think it would require us talking about where we want to maybe redirect some of our spending, which I can't do even though Trump thinks he can do that by executive order. I don't believe the president and or governors can redirect funding that I don't have the power to redirect without a session.
Asked whether she had any advice for the legislature as lawmakers continue to work on a budget for the upcoming fiscal year, the governor said she was willing to consider all proposals.
Look, there's some ideas that I would normally not like I don't want you to touch any of the funds we've already set up for like early childhood, for example. And there's some ideas about tapping that temporarily and redirecting it to Medicaid. And I've said I will look at all those proposals openly and objectively. But I don't know that this is something you piecemeal.
On Thursday, the governor signed 2 pieces of legislation into law. They include the so-called public safety package, as well as 2 bills aimed at expanding access to behavioral health care through a regionalized process. Thursday's bill signing marked the first pieces of legislation to secure the governor's signature this session, consistent with lawmakers' pledge to expedite proposals on crime and behavioral health this session. Thanks again to Representatives Lord and Block for joining us in our latest podcast, and thank you for listening to Around the Roundhouse. Join us each week as we share the latest from the Capitol by subscribing to our podcast through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. The New Mexican has a devoted team of reporters and photographers at the Roundhouse each day during this 60-day session to provide you with the latest developments. Follow our coverage online at SantaFeNewMexican.com, where you can also subscribe to our political newsletter, The Roundhouse Report, for updates sent directly to your inbox. Until next time, I'm Daniel Chacón, and this has been Around the Roundhouse.